Well, good morning. If you have not met Jerome and Anita, Jerome was here about 4.5 years ago. I think he was here for a Sunday evening, if I remember correctly, so many of you may not have seen him before, but they are missionaries that we support in Dajabon, Dominican Republic. So what my goal is today is to introduce you to them if you don't know them, give you a glimpse into their life and what life is like in the Dominican Republic and kind of how they operate there. So let's get started. So this is Jerome and Anita. They're born and raised in New Orleans. Met probably 20 years ago in college and got married and ended up moving to Orlando, Florida, where he was a software developer for EA Games. So if you're familiar with Madden Sports, he's the one who did Game Face. He's the one who wrote that program. So he left that. He was a elder at Cornerstone Reformed Baptist Church in Orlando. Many of you ladies know that. That's where the women's conference is in the summer every year. So he was an elder there. And I want to tell you how they got to Haiti, or Dominican Republic. They started out going to Haiti, believe it or not. What's interesting is we didn't really know Jerome and Anita that well. I met him that one day that he was here. Patty's met Anita a couple of times down at the women's conference. But we really didn't know them. So we were a little hesitant, kind of a little scared to go down there, not knowing, spending a week with a family we didn't know. And as it turns out, talking to Jerome, he was kind of a little scared about us coming as well, not knowing who we were. So this is actually the third church plant that Cornerstone has done. They did one in Guatemala City. You've heard of Ashley and Mark Mudge down in Guatemala. That was their first church plant. They've got one up in upstate New York at Christ the King Reformed Baptist Church, just outside of Poughkeepsie. And then this is their third one. So where is Dajabon? So this is the island of Hispaniola. You'll notice on the left is Haiti and the right is Dominican Republic. Jerome had originally wanted to plant a church, or been called to plant a church in Haiti. There was some people in the church down in Orlando, a Cornerstone from Haiti, and they've been praying about a church plant down there because it's a very, very dark place. It's full of voodoo and that kind of religion, a lot of the Caribbean sort of religion, so no real gospel presence at all. So he was called down to there, had gone down a number of exploratory trips, gone to Creole language school, had learned Creole, and about that time the border actually closed. There was a lot of political strife, a lot of kidnappings. So what we'll find out later is this border is actually closed because from the Dominican side, people would go across, mostly Dominicans, but foreigners as well, and they'd end up getting kidnapped and held for ransom. So the big Dominican government, the police would have to go over there and try to rescue them, pay ransoms, all this. So they finally just closed the border. And what you'll see later is Haitians are allowed to come across to the Dominican side, but nobody's allowed to go from Dominican over to Haiti. So because of that, he was not allowed, or it didn't make sense for him to go to Haiti to start a church. So he got hooked up with a pastor in Santo Domingo, the capital, Pastor Francisco Guzman, who said, we've been praying for someone to plant a church over near the border that could minister to both Dominicans and Haitians. So they started looking over and they found this place, Dajabon. You can see it, kind of the red dot right there on the border. And that's where Dajabon is. Here's the city itself. The yellow stripe is the river, where that's the border. It's called the Massacre River. Because during the Revolution, there was a great massacre there and hundreds of people were killed and left in the river. So we'll have a picture of that in a little bit. The Bradley's house is about 3/4 to a mile outside of town. And the church is probably, just on the outskirts of town, about 3/4 of a mile away from their house. Because they only have one car, it's a van because they have 8 kids, you'll see that they walk a lot of places. So the kids even will walk up to the church. They walk up to town. They do a lot of walking there, even though they're a good bit out of town there. Here's the Bradleys. Their oldest child is 18, that's Sam on the left, and their youngest is Fifi, that's right next to her, holding in Anita's arms there. So there's about 2 years between all of them, so it goes 18 down to 3. This is their house. It's the largest house they could find. They just purchased it about 8 months to a year ago. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Let's see, only one that they could find that had 2 bathrooms. They were not going to try to raise a family of 8 kids with 1 bathroom. It's got a little small yard on the left and the right, kind of in the front there. The wall goes all the way around it. That's very typical in third world countries. You'll have a wall and a gate. You don't close the gate, or you don't open the gate unless you're going in and out, and then it's closed again. The Dominican Republic, especially this area, is very safe. Like I said, the kids walk everywhere. They go to music class, they go up to the church, they walk out and about, and kids all over town walk and are out without their parents everywhere. There's no danger of getting, it's not a violent community, but it's very thieverish. If you leave anything unbolted, it's going to get stolen. Jerome told us if there's anything important, keep it with you. Don't leave it in the car, don't leave it in the hotel, just take it with you. So we carried our passports and our wallets everywhere we went. So what is life like in Dajabon? Well, driving is sometimes interesting. You had to just wait for the cows to come by. I do have a little video here that's going to show you what life is like to drive. You'll notice a couple of things. One, the people riding the motorcycles don't have helmets. There's no license plate on this guy in front of me, and that's typical because there's no registration, no licensing requirements, no helmet requirements. So if you want to buy a car, it's expensive, but you can buy a motorcycle pretty cheap. Just buy it, learn how to ride it, and get going. But you'll see, notice guys passing on the left, passing on the right, coming in front of you, makes no difference. There are no rules. This is drive at your own risk, no rules driving. The hierarchy is motorcycles are first, cars are second, and pedestrians are third. If a motorcycle comes in contact with a car, it's the car's fault. It doesn't matter who did it. Anita was pulling into her driveway in front of that house last year, and a guy on a motorcycle on his phone crashed into her back. She had to pay his medical bill. She was in fault. So you're really careful. Patty had her eyes closed the entire time. She did not like us driving. So you'll notice here's a truck coming on the wrong side of the road, which is totally normal. No problem at all.
Did you ever see anyone driving on sidewalks?
Oh yeah. I don't know if you noticed, there was a guy on a motorcycle coming in the sidewalk here.
That was common.
So, and I did want to mention that if there are any questions, I'm going to have some time, I think, for questions afterwards. But if there is anything that comes up, please shout it out. Let's have a conversation. So, a lot of food you buy just on the street. The one on the left is an empanada stand that's just down the road from their house. Wonderful, wonderful empanadas. If you've never had an empanada, this is the place to get them. Fruit stands. This isn't the one we actually used, but it's one very typical. You just kind of drive up to it, pay your money, and grab the fruits and vegetables that you need. There was a guy making chicken on the side of the road. Best barbecue chicken I think I've ever had. Just extraordinary. But it's not in our culture to buy things off of a street guy. But that's typical. That's the way it works. So what's life like in the Bradleys? We showed up on a Tuesday. So what I'm going to do is walk you through day by day what their life is about. And what you're going to see is it's centered around the church. Everything they do as a family is centered around the church because that's what their life is. So on Tuesdays, they have a radio program that Jerome does. The guy that you'll see next to him here is Nacho. He's one of their members. And what happened is he's really wanted to be able to speak to the Haitians as well as the Dominicans, but there's no way to get there. A lot of Haitians come over to Dajabon, but they can't stay. They're allowed to come over for the day, but they have to go back at night or they get rounded up by the police. So there's no real way to minister to them in a practical way. So he thought a radio program was a way to do that. But to be honest, he kind of was lazy and him-hawed about it, just really didn't move forward on it. So one night, him and Nacho were sitting around talking about it, and Nacho said, look, let's just call the radio station and find out what goes on. So about 8 o'clock at night, they called the guy at the radio station. He said, yeah, come on down. So at 10 o'clock at night, they're down at the radio station signing a contract, and now they do a 1-hour weekly radio program it's in Creole and Spanish to the Dominican and Haitian people. And the format is he gives Nacho a list of questions every week that he asks them, kind of an interview podcast format. And so he's able to present the gospel, present truth, present teaching, doctrine in an interview-friendly conversational format that has really reached a lot of people. He meets people on the street that tell him that they've heard the program, that they're interested in it. It's brought some people visiting to the church, so it really is making an impact. So that's Tuesdays. Wednesdays is a prayer meeting like we would have here. I was able to give my testimony, give an update on EBC, answer some questions that they had about us and us about them. And then we just had a normal prayer meeting like we would normally have here. The men prayed. They had some concerns for the church, concerns for the community, concerns for their country, and so forth. On Thursdays, the boys, after they finish school, the younger boys, they're, what, Patty, 10 and 8?
8 and 10.
Yeah. They walk down to the church. They pull up all the chairs, sweep and mop, clean up anything that was left over from Sunday, put the chairs all back and get it all set up for the Thursday evening English class. So this is a way that Jerome can impact the community as well by teaching English using the Bible as his base text. So he goes through teaching the scriptures, and you notice there's a number of young people here. He doesn't discourage kids from coming to any of these programs at all, because what they found is a lot of times the kids will come, and that will prompt the parents to follow them and come as well. They've got a couple of people that have come as a result of their kids coming to either the English class or the Bible study that I'll show you in a minute. So here's just a short clip of how the English class goes.
With our eyes, which we have.
So he gives them the English and Spanish and works through it, so using the scriptures as a teaching tool. On Fridays is normally their family day. They'll do some things together as a family, but this Friday that we were there, luckily, was the Independence Day for Dominica. So it was a big time. They had parades, a big gathering with all the school groups giving different presentations and things. So this was a parade here, just ending at the center where we gathered. If you'll notice right in the middle, I don't know if I can point her out, right here is one of Jerome's daughters. Both of them play the flute in the Dajabon Orchestra, so they were part of the parade, which was it was really neat. So again, just school groups doing some cultural dances and things celebrating their independence. My granddaughters really like the dresses. On Friday nights, they normally do oversight meetings with the members, because there's very few. There's only 4 members besides Anita and Jerome right now, so they spend a lot of time with them, nurturing those relationships and building up the faith. But one Friday night a month, they do an evangelistic Bible study at one of the members' home. This is Cruz and Fabio's house. And what they did is Anita, Patty, and Cruz went out into the neighborhood, which is really just a village with be frank, a lot of huts in it. And they went around talking to the people, knocking on doors, telling them about this Bible study that they were going to have this night. And 2 ladies and a whole bunch of kids showed up. And Jerome did a teaching. And again, he doesn't discourage the kids from coming at all, because it does prompt a lot of the parents to come as well. And it's just so odd that the kids are just really allowed to roam free in much of the city. It's not like here where we're afraid to even let them go in the backyard because of somebody taking them up. It's just a very safe place, and the kids are free to go and explore and kind of do their thing. So here are these 2 ladies. We gave them Bibles after the teaching, and one of them said that she had planned on trying to come to the church, but I don't think she ended up coming, if I remember. I don't think she did. And again, a lot of the kids.
Is it typical for them to have large families as they have a large family?
You know what? I don't know. I don't get the sense that they do. There are obviously some. I don't really remember any really large families. 2 or 3 kids maybe was kind of typical. Saturdays are spent shopping. This is a cabbage. I didn't have another picture to show shopping. Shopping for food, cooking, getting ready for the Lord's Day. They have a fellowship meal every Sunday after the service, and frankly, Anita puts on all of the food. Some of the other people provide some, like one of the ladies brought some rice, but Anita gave her the rice to bring. So she provides a lot of the food, most of the food, for the Sunday morning meal. Mike?
What kind of money currency do they use there?
It's a peso. It's 60 pesos per dollar. No. No, it's a lot more than that. 6 pesos per dollar. So it's very, you're paying hundreds and thousands for things in their currency.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
If it's 6 pesos, that's 190 pesos?
190 pesos.
Yes. So if it's 6, you're
I don't
paying
know.
over 30 bucks.
No, it wasn't that much. So it's, maybe it was 60. It was, the food was not very expensive at all, especially the vegetables and fruits and things like that. I had to use my little currency converter all the time to try to figure it out. But I was carrying around hundreds and thousands of dollars or pesos. So.
So asking the resident Dominican here, she thinks it's 62. So if you think
Oh, 62.
divided by 62, it'd be like $3 for that.
Okay, yeah, so $3 a cabbage. That's right. So just to give you the perspective of what their family is going through, she's cooking for 30 to 40 people for the next day, just to make sure that they have a good meal on Sunday and they're not going away hungry. Now, what does that do? A lot of people come because they're going to get fed, but they're also getting fed by the Word of God, right? So they hear the Word of God, they have a meal, and then a lot of them bolted, to be honest. This Saturday, we were able to bring the kids and the family over to the hotel we were staying at, and I let them swim in the pool for a couple hours, and then we had dinner there. So it was a nice afternoon for the family. This is their church. It's a 3-bedroom house that they rent. The owner wants to sell it, but he wants about 4 times the market value for it. So they're waiting to see what he comes down on. But as you notice, there's a lot of room in the front yard there where they can add some buildings, because it's about at capacity right now. And I'll show you a picture here in a minute. So the 3 bedrooms, one is Jerome's office, one is a nursery, and then one they have set up as a bedroom for visiting pastors. If somebody comes in from the capital to preach, or a missionary comes, they can stay at the house there. So here's the living room. That's their sanctuary, if you will. So again, 35 people can fit in there comfortably. And then the back room, I guess what we would call like kind of the back porch closed in, is their fellowship hall. So Sunday service, much like ours, they have Sunday school first. Here, Jerome is teaching on the confession on the local church. Show you a quick video of their morning service here. And again, after the service, we took a picture just to show you what everybody was there. So we're at capacity. I think there was 1 spare chair, and there's a couple people that are back in the nursery still. So it was a full house. After the service, we did have the fellowship meal. I didn't capture any pictures of that, unfortunately, but here some of the ladies are just having some fellowship. Patty and Cruz, who's one of the members, got to be real good friends. Was she the one who said she's a friend and a sister, right? Here, Jerome and I are talking with Robert. So there's 2 people, Robert and Catherine, who are very close to membership. They have a good profession of faith, but they're working with them to make sure that it's solid, that they understand the confession, the doctrines. They're going through here. Jerome and I are talking with Robert because he has a lot of problems with assurance. He knows he's a sinner. So he wants to, kind of get clean before he's acceptable to God, and we're trying to explain to him that that's not how it works. That Christ paid it all on the cross, and that's how you become clean, by what He's done, not what you do. Both him and Catherine they're hoping to be baptized and become members by the end of this year. On Sunday night, all the members and Catherine's in the red there. I'll show you a picture of her in a minute. Came together at their house for a fellowship meal, and it was just a great time of sharing and being together and laughing and talking. So despite the language barrier, it was a really, really good night. The ladies are sharing their testimonies, having some fellowship time. So here's the membership of the church. On the left is Fabio and Cruz, then Anita and Jerome, and then Sandy, who's a Dominican, who's lived he's a Haitian, living in Dominican Republic. He's been there his whole life, essentially. And then Nacho, who kind of acts like their deacon. He's not an official deacon yet. They're hoping in the next year that he will be brought into as an officer, but right now he's just acting. He does a lot of the work around the church, maintenance, and just taking care of things for Jerome and Anita. I was going to say their 2-year anniversary of their constitution is this May. So they started the church when they got there 4 years ago. Took them about 2 years before they constituted. So in May will be their 2-year anniversary. And when they constituted, Cruz, Sandy, and Nacho were all baptized and became members. Fabio had already been baptized and was just brought into membership at that time. There's Catherine and Patty. She's the second person besides Robert that I said is very close to membership, working through the confession and just her testimony and things like that. They call her the bread lady because she, besides owning her own hair salon, also lives above a bakery. So she brings bread a lot of times. So the kids call her the bread lady. And what's interesting is she brings visitors almost every week. So as she's doing people's hair, she's doing ladies' hair, she's witnessing to them, talking to them. And she says, look, if you come to church with me this week, I'll take some pictures of your hairstyle and we'll put it on my blog. And it's amazingly effective. People come with her every week. So Mondays are Jerome's day off. So that's when they do their date day. They're very jealous of taking a couple of hours every Monday, getting away together without the kids, spending some time. You can imagine the chaos around a house with 8 kids from 18 to 3. It's a lot of time management, a lot of kid management, house management. So getting away for a couple of hours together and just spending time together is very important to them. So we got to do that with them this week. Went to a restaurant, had some good food. And of course, it's not a frank presentation if you don't get some food pictures. So on the left is Shivo, which is goat stew, a traditional stew. You have Shivo, Liz? In the middle is pumpkin soup, which I didn't realize pumpkins are a big thing in the Dominican Republic. And then on the right, what I had was chicken wrapped shrimps, which are not native, or traditional, I don't think, but I liked it. So then we went over to the border. Here's the Massacre River that we talked about earlier. The building you see across the river on the Haitian side is a market, which is a mirror to the one that's on the side that we're on, the Dominican side. That I think it was the UN or the European Union, somebody had built that for them on both sides. But the one on the Haitian side is empty. No one uses it because every time they set up to sell something, it gets stolen. It's just thievery is out of control. They can't do it. So they all come to the Dominican side, sell what they can, and then go back over. We stood there for probably 10 minutes. Greg and I were talking about this earlier. They were on the same bridge, and just hundreds and hundreds of people going back and forth, carrying their goods to sell, carrying their goods back that didn't sell, carrying it any way they can, on their heads, in carts, on tuk-tuks, just any way they can to get stuff back and forth and try to make a living, scrapping out a living any way they can. You walk through the market and it smells indescribable. But you can buy anything. Anything you want to buy, you can buy in this market, from a toilet to a toothbrush. I mean, everything, and everything in between. So, what was our purpose in being there? We really went to support and encourage them. It wasn't to do any work. It wasn't to, build a house. We weren't there to preach. We weren't there to really do anything but just be there for them and do whatever we wanted, or whatever they wanted us to do. So we stayed in this little, they call it a resort. It's really a hotel. Got very, very basic rooms. And as you can tell, the outdoor dining is full of wildlife. The peacocks were pretty much wherever they wanted to be, Here Patty's working with Anita, teaching her one of the English programs that she's using. Patty and Angela have used this for years, and Anita was just starting to use it, so she was giving her some instruction on how to go about it with the boys. You can tell one of them is very interested. We did reading with them. We did some time of Bible with them. Patty and Anita were able to do devotions together. She helped Anita organize the church kitchen. This was the after picture because the before picture was a disaster. Besides playing with the kids, I was able to really help Jerome. My biggest task to help him was to organize his library in his office at the church. They had just gotten, now remember, they've been there 4 years. They just got, 3 weeks ago, their container from the States. So it's been in storage for 3.5, 4 years now. So he got, 1,000 books. I mean, imagine the library that we have here. That was in a room. So I organized them in the way that he needed to, went A to Z all the way through and was able to get that done. And it was good because he and I got to spend a lot of one-on-one time together as we were going through that. Just talking about life, talking about his marriage, talking about his relationship with the Lord and where his spiritual life is. So it was just a really good time. As I said, Catherine has a hair studio, and she insisted on making Patty an honorary Dominican. So she got her hair done. And there's 4 gallons of product on her hair right now. You could knock on it. It was like a walnut. The whole family is very musical. As I said before, the girls played in the Dahobon Orchestra with their flutes, so they decided to do a little duet for us. Their son Jerome, or how he's known as Buddy, is amazingly musical. He plays the trumpet, the violin, and he's teaching himself piano. So no slackard at all. He doesn't read music yet.
How old is he?
14, yeah. He's third. I think the 2 girls, then him.
And he plays all those instruments by ear.
Yeah. Apparently just whatever he picks up, he can play it. So he's trying to teach himself the trumpet now. He's just starting on that. But he plays the violin very well, and there's something else. Maybe guitar? I don't remember. Yeah, and then he picked up the piano just to play it, and now he's trying the trumpet because it sounds cool. So some final thoughts. Not only did they encourage us, we encouraged them. Or not only did we encourage them, they encouraged us. How? Well, the church really is the center of their lives. I really wanted to make that clear, that the way they live, and it was an encouragement to me that the church body and the family of God is really paramount in their lives. It's a family affair. Sam, their oldest daughter, does the website. The younger boys do the cleaning. Penny's in charge of the nursery. So it's not just Jerome and Anita doing the work. All the kids are involved as well as they're able. An 8 and a 10-year-old clean the church. That's their job. And they do a good job. They're bold in proclaiming their faith to everyone. We went to a store. They're talking to the cashier about the scripture. Where do you go to church? Oh yeah, I'm a pastor over there. You should come. And just very natural conversations. It's not pushy in the way you would see somebody beating them over the head with it. It's just a natural part of the conversation. I think Latin Americans are a lot more open to that sort of a conversation than we are. But I'd like to incorporate that more into my life. Just talking to people, where do you go to church? Do you go to church somewhere? Invite you to come, that sort of thing. So here's some prayer points that Jerome had sent me, that the Lord would continue to work out in Dahobon the salvation of souls, their faithfulness to employ the means of grace individually and as a church. Their van has been broken down for about 6 weeks now. It's out at the Capitol. They say it's almost finished. So Nacho is planning to go take the bus to the Capitol this week and hopefully retrieve it so they can get the rest of the work done. But it's been a real trial for them. So They either bum rides or they walk everywhere. If they have to go shopping, they walk and pick it up and walk home. So I didn't really notice any buses like the city buses that came by their house because they're, like I said, a little bit outside of town. There are some buses around in town, but to get to their house, you walk or you bum a ride. Their house in Orlando is just about sold. They have a contract on it, but the inspection said that they had to replace the roof. So they're getting a roofing contractor to do that, and hopefully it will close in the next couple of weeks. Praise the Lord for the arrival of the things from the U.S., so that came in. And then for Robert and Catherine to come to Saving Faith, be baptized, and become members this year. So, any questions, comments? Steve?
The state of their children with salvation, are any of their kids profess faith? Or?
I think a couple of the older ones, he said Buddy is very close, and Sam as well. She's graduating high school this year and going to go to college up in New Orleans. She'll get to live with her grandmother, who's a believer, and be able to go to school. So he's hopeful about at least the two older girls and Buddy, the third child.
I
Terry?
noticed their gate was covered with anti-personnel.
Yes.
So even though, things are supposedly safe, but not from,
It's not a violent community, but it's a very thieverous community.
okay.
People will steal everything.
And how do the border police keep the gangs from Haiti from coming over?
On that bridge, there's armed guards, and they're watching everybody who comes and goes. So it's pretty obvious that, it's old women, it's men selling things. It's not. Nobody walks across the border empty-handed. They're all selling something or bringing something back that they've bought or couldn't sell. So I think that's probably the main thing. And for some reason, they know. We go through a number of checkpoints as we're driving, especially outside of leaving Dajabon. Coming in, they don't really care, but leaving, they don't want any Haitians to leave Dajabon at all. So whatever road you're on, you go through 2 or 3 checkpoints, armed guards and things like that. And for us, they'd look in the car and wave us on. But there was a number of them. If there's a Hispanic person in the car, they stop it and check and want to know. So I think Haitians and Dominicans, there's enough physical characteristics that are different. A lot of times they can just tell who should and shouldn't be there.
And armed guards in like the grocery stores and stuff too.
Yeah, there are pretty much armed guards everywhere. Just go to the grocery store. There was a guy at the door making sure you weren't walking out with something. And again, because we're white Americans, we didn't get a second look most of the time, but the locals did. What else? Mike?
What's probably the most discouraging thing for them in their ministry?
Ooh. Probably not discouraging so much as there's just such a lack of foundation. Nobody has any foundation in the faith. It's a Catholic-based culture, but it's cultural Catholicism. It's not a practicing faith. So everybody's a Catholic, everybody's a Christian, right? But nobody has any foundation in doctrine or scripture or anything. So everybody is starting from ground zero.
So in regards to that, any stats on the number of evangelicals in the Dominican Republic?
There's a couple of Reformed Baptist churches in the capital and 2 or 3 others kind of scattered around the country. But most everything else, go ahead, Sam.
Well, just because Elizabeth's Dominican, so she knows 13 Reformed Baptist churches, and if you go like around the country, there would be a decent bit of evangelical presence in Dominican. Just in general, if you're talking about the country, there's a good bit of Reformed Baptist churches that have been planted there over the years.
But a lot of it's kind of central to east part of the country.
Yeah. Not really much. Dawbone is probably the only one.
Yeah, in the west, yeah.
Did you see any evidence of social media, like cell phones?
Oh yeah, everybody's got a cell phone. They have a Facebook page. They do, Twitter and things like that. So a lot of the news is fed by social media. That's the way they get around. WhatsApp is huge for communication. So English is spoken in their home, but the kids speak better Spanish than Jerome does. Because they're out in the community. They take music lessons, they're out playing soccer, they're on a soccer team, they're in the orchestra, so they're in the community in a sense more than the adults are. So yeah, their Spanish is actually quite a bit better. So in that English class, a number of their own kids were there just to help him with some of the translations. If he doesn't understand what somebody's asking or getting a word correct to translate it, the kids are there because they know better. They've really picked up on it. He said that was one thing they were really worried about was, culturally, how are the kids going to adapt? Because obviously a couple of them are older when they moved there, but they said they've just really adopted the Dominican culture as their own. They're home there. So that's a real blessing.
How
Steve?
do they feel with support, not financially, but people checking on them? Do they feel still a connection to churches in the States, or how do they feel?
I think it's getting better. At first, a lot of people didn't come, but a few weeks before we were there, a church from Mississippi was there as one of their supporters. I know that Cornerstone goes down at least once a year, if not twice. So I think they do get quite a bit of support. I know he still participates in their elder calls every week, him and Mark Mudge and the guy in New York, as well as the two elders at Cornerstone. So I know they meet together weekly. So I feel like I got the feeling that they felt pretty supported. But again, it was an encouragement to them to have somebody come who, one, they didn't know, two, was just there for them. It wasn't there for a project necessarily, but it was just an encouragement for them. Anything else? Yeah.
The gentleman who was from Haiti, what's his life like there?
So I don't know the whole story, but Jerome was telling me he's kind of a man without a country in a sense, because he came to the Dominican Republic as a boy, and I don't think there was much in terms of passports, border crossings, that sort of thing back then before everything closed up. So in a sense, he can't go home, but he can't leave Dajabon either. So I'm not sure what his real status is. He looks like kind of a gruff guy. You see him like in a hoodie with his thing up. And he kind of looks, but he was the sweetest guy. He was playing with the kids and just having. He said he's just a true believer in all the sense that you could. One thing I want to encourage you, like I said, we didn't know them very well at all before we went. So don't be afraid to reach out to some of the missionaries, even if you don't know them. Reach out and say hello, send them an email, send them a text, call them, and just start that relationship. It's scary on their side too, to talk to somebody they don't know, but it's such an encouragement to them to know that people are praying for them, that are thinking about them, that support them in prayer and even our financial support that we have for them. So don't be afraid, don't be shy. Reach out to them. It's a great encouragement for them, and it will be for you as well. Pastor Greg, would you?